All right, and we are here again, and we are back again. As always, I'm Matt.
I'm Drew.
And this is the Back Again podcast. This is the only podcast that takes a sequel from the past and asks the question, is it worth going back again? We are continuing on our comedy sequel list, and today we are doing the follow-up to the 2001 Legally Blonde, and we are doing Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde. And what's different about this episode is we have a special guest, a Legally Blonde expert, if you will. Ladies and gentlemen, Kaylee Johnson. Kaylee, thanks so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Now, Kaylee, what is your experience briefly with the Legally Blonde franchise? How long have you been a fan? Just give us a breakdown of it.
I saw Legally Blonde in theaters, came out when I was 11, and it instantly became one of my favorite movies. I'm pretty sure I saw it in theaters more than twice. I was completely obsessed with it. I think any woman who's my age who saw the movie when they were younger, still has a warm affection for it.
So have you ever seen the sequel before?
No.
So this was your first time watching it?
Yes.
All right. And we will dive into it. And then Drew, this was also your first time seeing the entire franchise, correct?
Yes, I was not familiar with either movies before this.
Okay. So we'll get into...
What about you, Matt?
No, I mean, I've seen the first one a lot, and this was my first time seeing the second one. So for all of us, this was our first time seeing the sequel.
Sure.
Well, let's roll that trailer.
In America, there are those who make the law and those who make it look good.
Excuse me.
Elle Woods found the perfect job
We're lawyers. We have to fight for justice.
where she could speak up for the underdog.
Animal testing for cosmetics is unjust. The cost of beauty is much too high. I can't believe I just said that.
You're fired, Elle.
What? Don't cry, you can do this. Okay, don't cry hard.
Now she's taking her fight to the nation's capital.
Washington? You fall asleep when we watch The West Wing.
But have you seen what they're wearing? Too Nancy, too Hillary, too Monica, too perfect for words. Hello, Patriots! I don't think I've been this excited since Gucci became a publicly traded company.
Oh my god, it's Capital Barbie.
Legally Blonde 2 comes out in 2003. It's directed by Charles Herman Wernfeld. It's starring Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Coolidge, Sally Field, Luke Wilson, Regina King, Jay Barton, Bruce McGill, and Bob Newhart. So obviously, usually this would be the part where I would give a little synopsis about what happens in Legally Blonde 2. There's some questions that I have that I think we were asking during the movie, so I'll just read what it says online. Elle Woods journeys to Washington, D.C. to have her say about animal rights, but is ignored by every politician she encounters, and quickly learns that the White House can even be tougher to navigate than the Ivy League. Finally, Elle makes the acquaintance with sympathetic Representative Victoria Rudd, Sally Field, who helps the young lawyer get her foot in the door of Congress. Unfortunately, Elle still has to convince the entire legislature to hear her out. Now, the reason why I say that's confusing is because usually I would say, if it was my synopsis, Legally Blonde 2 takes place so-and-so after the first Legally Blonde. But it's a little confusing because the first one ends with a 2-year time jump to when she graduates. And then the second one starts where her and Luke Wilson are still engaged. So we're to believe that it's still only been, a couple months after graduation?
They graduated in 2001.
No. They graduated in 2004.
All I know is that the difference between movies is what was in universe. So I think there's a 2-year gap between movies, so they did a 2-year jump.
I do want to point out too that Jennifer Coolidge is pregnant at the end of the first movie, and then she has what looks to be at least a 3-year-old in this movie.
So if we're basing the timeline...
that's actually great because you're using, what is it? It's like you're using the kids as a carbon dating.
Exactly.
It's like you date backwards from that. So it's 2.5 years.
So that means then that Reese Witherspoon...
They've been engaged for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Which, if you consider that they're both going to be graduating law school, or actually, I don't know if he doesn't graduate. She graduates.
Yeah.
He's not graduating, I don't think. He's just watching.
Yeah, he just becomes a professor.
He's a big promotion because he's a professor now.
Yeah. So if you take into consideration that during that time, they were spending more time trying to get their careers off the ground and saying, once we have that underway, then we'll worry about the wedding, then it makes sense.
Well, it's,
Now, I'll say something real quick. I think Elle Woods does not need 2.5 years to launch her
I
career.
was just gonna say that.
She can do it. She can do anything in a handful of months.
It's funny how she's able to pass the LSATs in 3 months. Warner's able to get engaged in 3 months. She's able to go to Washington, D.C. and have a bill get made in a couple of months, but yet it takes her 2 years to get married to Luke Wilson.
To get through the engagement.
Yeah.
If you were just going based logically, the sequel would take place like 2 weeks after the first one. It's
Sure.
like they would graduate and then boom, she's in Washington, like because that's just these movies go at the speed of like cocaine.
When we pitch, we're probably going to pitch a better sequel for this, but let's go ahead and jump into the plot a little bit. So when we start with Elle, she is, like you said, working at a law firm. It's been 2 years.
Do you need to explain her character, or do people know who she is?
I think Elle Woods is a
osmosis?
pretty like known character in like mainstream media,
I guess.
right? I mean, Kaylee, you can attest to that a little bit too.
I definitely think that she is her character is iconic.
Yeah, and like, this first movie is so successful that they kind of jump right into this second movie.
How successful is it, Matt? Give us the numbers.
Well, the first Legally Blonde from 2001 has a budget of $18 million and has a box office return of $141.8 million.
Oof.
Yeah. So before we get carried away, let's talk about this plot a little bit. So we pick up with Elle still being engaged to Emmett.
I was gonna say Luke.
Luke Wilson, yeah. They're engaged for 2 years still, and she is trying to get Bruiser's parents to come to the wedding. Bruiser's her dog.
His mom, yeah. She says mom because she says, and I quote, it would be, or not and I quote, but she does say that she doesn't expect to find the dad because, he's a dog.
So Elle's trying to find Bruiser's mom, and when she does, so she hires a private investigator, and when she finds her at an animal testing facility. And because she's so upset about that, she decides to take that information into her annual review to try to get her firm to like essentially close down the testing facility or like do a lawsuit against them or something like that. And they don't like this. And they're like, well, you shouldn't do this, Elle. This is not what we really care about. She fights back a little bit and then they fire her. So we get kind of a similar beat to the first one where she's starting off on like a low point, whether it's being dumped in the first one or being fired in the second one. And she realizes that she can't change people, but maybe she can change the law. So that's what entices her to go out to Washington, D.C. to try to create a bill that will ban animal testing in general.
I will also say that her being fired from her firm is probably the most realistic thing that happens in this entire movie.
Well, we only really get one conversation from her boss telling her that she did a good job on something. Like, we don't really know how Elle is doing as a lawyer now, graduating from Harvard. We just kind of get one little conversation of praise, and then she picks this one topic, and then because of that, they fire her. But it's like, I felt like they were very willing to fire her, like, and let go of her when they set her up as being like, oh, you've done such a great job for us. Like, you'd think there'd be a little bit more benefit of the doubt. But regardless of that, I'm blowing past it because the movie blows past it. And then, so she goes to Washington, and we reveal that she's gotten this position as Washington as the assistant to a congresswoman?
Yes, to Sally Field.
To Sally Field. Because her and Sally Field have a relationship.
No, they don't.
Well, it was established off screen.
They have the same.
They both went to Delta Nu.
It just feels like we get like an appetizer introduction of exposition. Then we get some more exposition. And to the point where when we finally ended up in Washington, I was kind of like, how did we get here? How does she know Sally Field? And it's like, oh, well, they just kind of establish all this like off screen.
There's so much catching up that when they actually try to move the plot forward, you're distracted.
Mm-hmm.
And then it like, once you hit Act 2, it just slows down.
With this movie, what do they set up within the first like 10 to 15 minutes about Elle, where she's at in her life? So that way when she takes on the challenge of going to Washington, we understand why. Like, if anything, I guess what I'm saying is this script feels like it was written by a person who, it's almost like what do they call those? Like fan fiction.
Mm-hmm.
So they take just like attributes of Elle and they go, well, wouldn't it be fun if we put Elle in this situation and we just watch her react to everything?
Also, like, it's as if Elle Woods has regressed as opposed to growing as a person. Like, you definitely expect her to still be Elle Woods, but it's Elle Woods after she's already gone through Harvard, after she's already been at this law firm for at least a year because she's doing an annual review, you know? So just there are a lot of things that happen that seems like, oh, isn't this silly? As opposed to this character who's been through these experiences, like actually going through them. It also really upsets me, the scene with her wedding dress where they're like, I'm sorry, we just can't do a scallop like on this fabric. Like, I didn't like that. I was like, I feel like this is undercutting the fact that she's actually like very intelligent.
Yeah, because you're waiting for her to like find a way to fix it, and then they're like use her knowledge of fashion to like correct the mistake, but that never happens.
But that scene is where she realizes like, oh, like if I can't change something, like there was a weird thing because she, like what you said, I don't know what it's called, but like, oh, we can't do this thing to the dress. And she goes, okay, well, if I can't
fix it, I'll change it.
Yeah, if I can't fix the dress, I'll change it. Now,
but she never changes the dress.
She never changes the dress. She's in a completely different dress at the end of the movie when she gets married.
That's pink.
That's pink. But also just that realization of getting there, like it's much cleaner in the first one and it's also very happenstance in the first one too, where she's at the nail salon and she sees a picture of Warner's brother getting married and she's like, oh, that's the kind of girl I gotta be for Warner to marry me. In this one, it's like a conversation. And it's just like, what is it? It's just like terminology. Yeah, it's like I say this. It's like, you know what? When you said that, it made me think of this.
I feel like it's been parodied in like Dan Harmon, like Community stuff, where it's like someone says something completely unrelated and then that sparks the eureka moment for another character.
Exactly.
It seemed like a parody when it was happening in this movie.
And just to go back to what you're saying, Kaylee, about like how like this kind of minimalizes the character. Like the first one is about intelligence. It's about passion and working hard. Now,
I would say about perception too.
Perception, absolutely. And then in the second one, perception still plays a part, but only because they want to have jokes about her being like pink and blonde and have all these kind of like bureaucrats and suited people that wear monochromatic colors to be like what does the guy say? He's like, look, it's capital Barbie, or something like that. But more so than that, it's not really about intelligence. It's about people skills. Because the biggest contribution she makes to the people in Washington, D.C. is to get them to be like the snap box.
The snap cup.
The snap cup. And just to be more kind of honest, I guess. But honesty is such a weird arc for a character when we've already established this character as like considerate, intelligent, and passionate.
I think what she's bringing in is integrity because you have, well, no, but like seriously, it's because of the fact that like it's not so much the people skills as it is like rather than being so cutthroat, like going for what's right, what you believe in, helping the people around you achieve the things that they want to achieve rather than being ready to stab someone in the back so that you can get what you want. Like that is the one thing that I will say, like throughout the entire film, she's like, no, I don't think that I can work at a law firm that's not going to stand up for what's right. No, I'm not willing to do that. No, I have standards. Like that's like repeated throughout the entire film. I think that that's the asset that she brings in.
Well, I think they repeat it, but they don't show examples of it. And I think
I didn't say they bring it in well.
Well, like I think about what's an important scene in the first Legally Blonde is when she takes Jennifer Coolidge's character to go get her dog back. And she's using her legal skills, even though you can find online like lawyers talk about like, oh, that's not allowed. And she would get kicked out of Harvard for actually pretending to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
But the whole point of that scene is when she sees the joy on Jennifer Coolidge's face after getting her dog back, she realizes, oh, you know, I may have came here for Warner, but I actually like helping people. And I like the fact that I can use my words and my passion and my integrity to help the little man or little woman, if you will, the everyday people. So in this one, if this second one is about integrity and it's about like, you know, doing the right thing or just like, you know, your word matters or whatever, we never get a scene of her like connecting with somebody in Congress and changing their mind by her showing integrity or her showing compassion.
That's what the whole gay dog scene was.
But that scene is such a joke.
It's not done well. It's
Exactly.
not.
Yeah.
I think
Your
that's an
argument is
attempt.
this isn't done well, and we're agreeing with you it's not done well, but we're saying those pieces are there.
All right, well,
You
then
can
it's just...
ignore them if you want, but they're still there and they're still bad.
I'm saying that everything gets handed to Elle on a silver platter in the second one. She doesn't earn anything,
Yeah.
I don't think.
It's like they attempt to do it by like you're using your street smarts and like, okay, if you don't know the ins and outs of Washington, and Bob Newhart or Skip or Sid or whatever his name is going to help you with the knowledge that he has. And that's where she gets like the congresswoman that's like weeping over the dog because, you know, your raspberry lip stain was tested
Okay.
on like these dogs. And then, you know, she's bringing in all of these other things. She's bringing in the heart.
Well, that feels like what? She's changing the conversation when they're actually in Congress versus like having conversations outside of Congress with these people.
Which is funny because
She does do that though.
She does both, yeah.
Well, it's just confusing because, and just to go back to her at the firm really quick, this kind of starts with like her boss telling her, you're not a serious lawyer. And what do we get at the end of the movie with Elle? Her co-workers with the Snap Cup tell her like, what? You're a caring, good, integrity person. And that kind of arc is confusing to go from you're not a serious lawyer to you're a very compassionate person. Versus in the first one, Warner says to her, I need somebody who's like intelligent to marry. And by the end of the movie, she's more intelligent than Warner. And it's just a cleaner kind of arc in the first one. Whereas in the second one, I'm just a little confused as to like, who is Elle?
I think it's playing with perception a little bit, the same way that the first one does with, and once again, I'm not saying that they're doing it well, but in this one, it's like, oh, well, you're not going to be a serious lawyer if you're not willing to be cutthroat, if you're not willing to do things, profit over people, things like that. And she's like, well, actually, I am capable of making change because I have integrity and like switching that.
Even to go back to what she's intelligent about, right? And like even sticking with integrity as well. So like in the first one, she has a lot of intelligence about fashion and about cosmetology. And it's going to come back into play because when she is then leading the trial for her defendant,
She's interrogating Linda Cardellini.
she's interrogating her, and the way she's able to win that case is because of her knowledge of perms, right? So it's kind of like, oh, the thing that you thought was least important actually comes back around and is more important in this one. In this second one, the thing like she doesn't have like a thing that comes back around.
There is that element, but it takes place out of court, out of the climax, so it's not like tense.
Well, she's able to call Sally Field on her bullshit because she said she got a facial
Yes,
at lunchtime,
but
and she's
that
lying about
happens
it.
like on set, like
Yeah.
for one of Sally Field's like interviews. So it's not like a tense courtroom. It's not the Congress moment where she's addressing everyone. It's a private moment.
But the reason I bring this up is because in the first one, when you have that thing that you didn't think was important and then becomes important, it's interwoven into like the law. And when you're watching this movie, what you're learning with Elle is how to become a lawyer.
and in the second one, she's just catching her in a lie.
Well, in the second one, it's about making a bill. And I wrote down in my notes, I said, how do you make a bill? And the movie,
We don't learn it.
We don't learn. We don't know. The movie doesn't know how to make a bill.
I think that is like this plot is a little more convoluted because that process is not as easily explained as the process of like these are steps that you would need to go through to become a lawyer. Like there are a lot of like nuances about passing a bill that like maybe like average person doesn't know, and they're trying to like quickly like weave those things in and tell you, but it just feels a little messy.
Well, it makes sense because like the first one was actually originated off of somebody's actual experiences going to Stanford Law School. Mark Platt, who's a producer, reads it, gets like he thinks that it's an interesting story, and then he brings on two screenwriters that were responsible for 10 Things I Hate About You, and then they turned it into a screenplay. Now, you know, just to kind of rush back back past the first one because this is the sequel podcast. They did many rewrites of this first original script for Legally Blonde. They did like over 10 drafts of it, and then they were doing a lot of punch-ups on the day. So this first movie is almost like kind of a perfect storm of based on a true story. You have a breakout performance from Reese Witherspoon, who also gets like a Golden Globe nomination for like Best Comedy in 2001. But then you also have these kind of semi-popular writers at the time that are rewriting the script and they're punching it up on the day. And then you have like a hungry director in Robert Luketic, and it's his first feature. He's coming from Australia. So you just kind of have this perfect storm of a movie, and then obviously becomes super successful. And then after that, what do the producers do? If we've learned anything on this podcast, they go, oh, that was successful. Let's do it again. And now you have Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde. So to say the least, like, for them to come into this second one with not only the same amount of energy, but also the same amount of like kind of just luck, I think is unrealistic even going into this.
What's frustrating is that they had so much content they were sitting on with just her being a lawyer, and then in the sequel they're like, oh, we had to take it to the next level. She's making a law now. And I was telling you after we finished watching the first one, they could have made this a TV show. Where it's like every week it's like a new case where you're learning something different about the law, and she's catching someone in a fashion-based like thing in the moment during the climax. Like you had a good formula. And then for the sequel, they just completely abandon the formula and they just go to Washington.
Well, isn't there inherently more interesting things about being now a real lawyer than all of a sudden kind of dropping your career and deciding to be like an assistant to a congresswoman?
Especially when in that very first scene with her Delta Nu sisters and with Paulette, whenever they're like, oh, well, you're about to get married so you can quit working. And she's like, no, I love being a lawyer. And then she just like
drops
quits just to go like do something that she's never done before.
Yeah.
It's actually great. I didn't even make that connection.
Yeah.
And it feels like, and we've seen this with a lot of sequels on this podcast, just like the fear of keeping another simple story but expanding the world and also continuing on the character. They put hats on top of hats. So realistically, this movie should have been about her finding out about the testing facility with the animals, going to her bosses to try to sue them. The bosses fire her. And then what does she do? She creates a private practice.
With Luke Wilson.
Yeah. Or, he comes in like maybe in the second act, like she starts it on her own.
Well, he already saves her at the end of the first one. Or he doesn't save her, but he helps her at the last minute. So I think he should be more... Yeah, he believes in her. So I think he should be more woven through this sequel. Well, do you want to go ahead and pitch our like ideal sequel?
Well, this is my ideal sequel, which is like she starts a private practice and she has to fund it herself. So we would get an opportunity to see Elle basically fighting a big corporation, but no longer having like the money from mommy and daddy to back it up. Now she is kind of like the everyday people.
And she could be funding it with like sorority like tactics.
Absolutely, because the only funny scene I think that happens in the second one, honestly, is when they call all the sorority girls. And it becomes like the phone tag thing.
The phone tree,
Yeah, the phone. And I think that was a really funny scene. But yeah, you could have had all of that in the second one. And then you could have got to see what it's like legally for her to take on a corporation. Because from a simpleton point of view, and I'm speaking about myself as an audience member, like we know in the zeitgeist, like, oh, you don't take on the corporations. So it would have been cool to see her take on a corporations, not for the little person, but for the little dog.
I liked that. I also would like to throw in there that I would have loved to have seen her mentoring like a younger Elle Woods, like somebody who wants to be a lawyer, but maybe even like somebody who's a little bit like a Vivian who comes in and they're all serious and they don't know how to incorporate the things that make them into the way that they're approaching law, because that's how Elle ends up winning her first case.
Yeah, because Regina King's character is just a repeat of Selma Blair's character, but there's so much less for Regina King to do. She's really just there to give Elle shit, and then what? She turns it around because she overhears a conversation in the third act of Sally Field very bluntly just telling her evil plan like as if she was twisting her mustache. Yeah. So she's telling Elle her evil plan about how she went behind her back to kill her Bruiser's Bill, and how she did it because she's going to be getting funding from the testing facility to fund her campaign, or like just to actively try to stop her opponent's campaign or something. And she's just laying it all out there. And then Regina King hears in the background. And then she sees like, oh, because Sally Field was about to do an interview, her microphone's still on during the sound check. So I overheard this conversation. And now I can grab the sound check file. And I can use that to blackmail Sally Field to help Elle.
That
and
was so lazy.
It's like, Jesus. Like,
So
it's so
lazy.
exhausting
She
to
didn't
say
even
all
have
that.
to turn on the recording software. It was already
already
recording.
on.
Some poor production assistant had already done the spying for her. All she had to do was click off and take the tape.
To keep kind of going along with that with like repeated characters. So Regina King is like Selma Blair. Bob Newhart is the new Jennifer Coolidge.
Which is awkward because Jennifer Coolidge is still in the
Yeah.
movie.
Sal-
I was gonna say Sally Field and Regina King are almost like they could have just been the same character.
Yes.
They're always doing the same thing.
Yes.
I felt like Sally Field was the new Professor Callahan.
Absolutely, because she betrays her in the third act. But honestly, Regina King and Sally Field are so underutilized in the movie that it makes you think like, why are there two characters of this?
Yeah.
Because there's arguably more characters in the second one, but it's like, if you're giving me all these characters, by the time we get to Act 2, what are we doing? And to your point, Drew, we're not really doing anything. We're kind of doing revealing that Bruiser's gay, so she's got gay dogs, and what else are we kind of revealing?
I got whiplash going into Act 2 from Act 1 because
Yeah.
you're going so fast with so much information that all ends up being worthless. And then everything grinds to a halt when she starts. I was gonna say brown nosing, but that's not right.
Well,
When
she's
she
using-
starts chatting up the people. When she was using her resources and was talking to them at the salons, that made sense. When she just ran into the one guy, the
Bruce
conservative,
McGill, yeah.
walking their dogs, that was so
Well, that
contrived.
was happenstance also.
That
She
was
doesn't even
random.
plan
Yeah,
that.
that wasn't planned,
They-
and that was one of the most important developments. That's the thing is they'll give Elle like second place like things to do or like secondary things to do, where it's like you'll advance the plot this way when the majority of the plot is advanced through happenstance and through the Delta Nu connection.
Just to kind of go back to the characters from the first one and the second one, the one person that I guess is consistent is Luke Wilson, but that's because Luke Wilson is so bland and so boring.
The most
in-
consistent thing to do would be to not change anything.
Dude, he must have worked for like maybe 5 days on set, like less than that for his roles. And they always do, whenever she's giving a speech, they keep cutting to like reactions of Luke Wilson watching her, and he's just making like the most like bland like faces. Like I know he's in love with her, but it just doesn't look. It looks like he's almost like waiting to use the bathroom.
Do you think that they have good chemistry, him and Reese Witherspoon?
No, and honestly, I was surprised by how like fast, first of all, they get together by the end of the first one, because we never get a scene in the first one of them really falling in love. He drives her home one time in the first one, and he says to her like, oh, like, because she calls him a butthead at the beginning of them driving kind of scene, but then when he drops her off at night, it's like, oh, well, you know, it's great being a blonde. And this is all happening in a shot where they're just filming the car. We don't even see Luke Wilson's mouth moving, but he's saying to her like,
It's a wide where everything is clearly dubbed over.
yeah, clearly dubbed over. And he's like, oh, you know, I think it's great being a blonde. You can get people's attention. You can actually do some real good with that. And it's like, that's the only conversation they really have together. So by the end of the first one, when it's like, oh, and her and Emmett have been dating for 2 years, it's like, oh, why?
Yeah.
Like, when did they fall in love? And then in this one, you would think that you would reinforce that relationship a little bit to understand why they're together. But once again, it's like, because he's nice.
They support each other, but it's like that's essentially like they are both very supportive of each other's wants and goals and aspirations.
Well, it's easy
Once
when they're
again,
the same.
And
yeah, it's that's the only thing that they really have.
and to be honest, I think he's more supportive of her than she is of him.
He's willing to get married at Fenway.
But they don't.
Fine, but she's willing to.
She knew they weren't going to.
Yeah, that's
This conversation is misogynistic. I am so upset.
So she says to him, we're gonna get married at Fenway. And he's like, are you sure? We can get married anywhere. She's like, no, I love you. We're gonna get married at Fenway. And then at the end of the movie, she's like, well, we're not getting married at Fenway. And he's like, that's okay. Like, I'm here to support you. So you would think in a way, because she passes the bill and makes these new relationships with all these Congress people, that initially, if she did not make this date or deadline, they would not get married at Fenway. But because he is selfless, comes to her and supports her, that now through passing the bill and having those connections, she goes also like, so like they're at the wedding and then it's like, you ready? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, oh, by the way, I have something to tell you. And then like a helicopter comes down and it's like, we're going to Fenway. He's like, but I thought we couldn't make the date. She's like, well, that's the thing when you work in like Congress now, like you have good connections. It's the same thing that like Sally Field says in the office when she's trying to entice Elle to drop the bill. She goes, I can get you a job working at this testing facility where you'll be their head legal person. And I pulled some strings. That's like the benefits of being a congresswoman. So they just could have did one more beat where it's like, oh, that's nice. Like now Elle's doing something for Emmett. But Emmett's
how did
just
the guests
like,
get there?
huh?
How did the guests get there?
By helicopter.
Oh my god, dude.
She brings the home plate.
She brings the home
Well,
plate.
again, that wasn't something she did on purpose, I don't think. That was something that just happened to be brought.
Well,
It-
Jennifer Coolidge's husband takes care of that because he's the UPS guy.
Yes.
As well.
So Elle didn't even think of that, did she?
My whole point.
I think Jennifer Coolidge's husband came in clutch for that.
The point is they still got it. They could have got
That's
married.
giving somebody who literally doesn't have a like lick of dialogue in this movie a lot of.
That's why I'm confused, because I would think it would be Elle, but I can't remember her like telling anyone to do it.
No.
It's revealed later. She's like, I have like a surprise for you.
And so tell you what, Fenway compared to a plate, like it's very
It's symbolic.
sure.
They at least someone addresses it.
It's just like her offer. Like her offer is symbolic, but she doesn't follow through with it, and they don't get married at Fenway. The relationship is weak, is all I'm saying. Let's talk about Jennifer Coolidge though for a second, because in the first one, she is obviously very timid and she's very insecure, and then she learns through Elle to grow confidence. In the second one, she is like dialed up to like a 20, and is literally every line of dialogue is just like a soundbite, and it's literally just like the most ridiculous thing you can say. I'm bringing up Jennifer Coolidge also because she has like a joke in this movie that is from the trailer. So in the first one, the trailer joke is,
I feel comfortable using legal jargon in everyday life. I object.
and after that joke happened in the movie in real time, you laughed pretty hard at that. And I was
Yes,
like, oh wow.
I like the trailer joke for the first Legally
Yeah.
Blonde.
So I was excited because I had seen the trailer before watching the second one, and I think the famous trailer joke in the second one is Jennifer Coolidge saying like,
Oh my God. You look like the 4th of July. It makes me want a hot dog real bad.
and after she said that, I looked to you and you were just no expression.
I didn't like that joke that much.
Well, they like that joke because they, you know, when they do that second
They didn't have a
beat-
lot of options for jokes to put in the trailer
Yeah.
when they were cutting the trailer for this movie.
True, but it's like an ongoing gag because at the end of the movie, they say like,
She's
"Oh,
eating a hot
yeah,
dog.
she got her hot dog finally," which is
But it's confusing because she's dressed like the 4th of July.
well, she's wearing Elle's outfit just in her size at the end of the movie.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Yeah,
it was
at the
exact same
wedding
outfit.
apparently.
Okay.
Just in case you forgot.
Is there anything we liked about the movie?
There had to have been a joke that landed, but I can't think of it right now.
Well, I said my favorite joke was when all the sisters from the sorority kind of
That's
got
okay.
together. It's also interesting because the flip of that is when the two best friends of Elle come to help her. They put on a performance in the Capitol.
What do you mean it's the flip of that?
Well, I'm saying like that scene of the sorority sisters works when they're doing the telephone
Yeah.
stuff. But then her main sorority sisters
Yeah.
come to help her, and the scene where they try to help her, which
They do a cheer.
a cheer.
With the interns.
Yeah, because there's
The
like
actual interns.
the actual interns, and it's just like bow wow wow yippee yo yippee yay.
It's apparently incentive for people to say, look at all of this tomfoolery. Let's go sign that bill.
Because it's not even like a distraction. People were pathetic before TikTok.
So we already talked about the first one, the budget in the box office, which was 18,141.8 million. With this second one, they have a budget of 45 million now, and they make back 124.9 million, which is still arguably like a success. But the only thing you can kind of find out about the second one is people went to the theaters like opening weekend, and then after they saw it, they're like, oh, you don't need to go see that. So then the weeks to follow really it went down.
I cannot believe that movie had that budget and looks the way that it looks.
It looks like it was made for TV.
Exactly. Like the first movie visually looks so much better. Like this movie is so flat in comparison on all around.
There were some really weird like handheld shots right at the top of this, whether it's Bruiser running to go find his mom and they're kind of following from behind. They just do these weird kind of tracking shots from behind, and there's just a lot
they
of
do a lot of walking and talking.
Yeah.
And it's like handheld.
I was wondering why this was so expensive the second time around, and there were 48 special effects shots in the second one because of the fact
green screen?
of the green screen.
Oh my god, but those are supposed to be more expensive.
Those
They're supposed
green
to be
screen
cheaper.
shots were horrible.
They were so bad.
The worst one is definitely at the Lincoln Memorial.
Exactly, yeah.
When she goes to Lincoln, it's like, how did you do it? And I was like, ooh, we're treading real dangerous
It
water
looks like
here.
a video game.
But then, yeah, so the green screen's horrible with that. There's also some shots where she's like in front of the White House and the Capitol, where it's clearly a green screen in the background. Just to go into the Rotten Tomatoes scores, I mean, obviously, you can guess that this is going to be lower than the first one, but Legally Blonde from 2001 has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 71%. And the second one, Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde, has a Rotten Tomatoes score of a 36%.
Sounds right.
To be honest, I still think that's a little generous.
For
I
two?
was gonna
For two.
say, I agree.
And it's funny because the last shot of the sequel is like her and Luke Wilson driving away after their wedding, and it's like, oh, where do you want to live? We can live anywhere in the world. And she's like, looks at the White House. She's like, I can think of some places. And then she
Oh,
looks,
the sequel bait.
yeah, she looks at camera and winks like she's gonna run for
Oh
office.
my god, I can't believe we never got that.
Okay, now that we're married, where do you want to live? Beverly Hills, Boston, Washington?
Oh, I think I know just the place.
Yeah?
Right.
So as always on this podcast, we ask 3 questions that lead to a final vote of is it worth going back again? And the first question is, does it work as a sequel? And Kaylee, since you're our guest, you can go first.
I will say no, because like you said, I think that sticking with the law route would have made more sense. Yeah, I just think that the whole passing a bill thing is just like at least the way that the writers handled it, it's a little too convoluted, and Elle doesn't end up actually knowing enough about this by the end of it for it to pay off. So I'm going to say no.
All right, Drew.
I want to say no because it weakens the character. I would consider a lot of like the repeat things that you talk about like mostly superficial, but like when they do those, it's a conscious decision they make to repeat those beats. Like the way she determines, I'll just bring this up randomly, for example, the perm and the facial or whatever, Sally Field's facial. When they repeat those beats, the quality is just not where it needs to be. It's not the same intensity. It's not the same quality. Apart from it being enjoyable in general, it working as a sequel, no, I don't think it works as a sequel.
I think this is another one of those sequels that could have worked on paper just because you are...
With the script as it's written...
No, not the execution. I'm saying like an outline of it, right?
Okay.
Because we are continuing Elle and her relationship with Emmett because they are getting married. We are putting her in a bigger situation and we're getting to see how she adapts to it. The problem is that there's too much and they don't know where to take Elle, and they don't know like what could have been interesting about this movie is seeing Elle outside of school, being like now a full-time adult who's going to get married and who's going to take on a new challenge. But we don't really get that. We get the flirtation of that, and then it's just kind of bullshit, like quippy kind of one-liners that she says. So no, I don't think it works as a sequel. So that sounds like it's going to get 3 X's right off the bat. Uh-oh.
Ruh-roh.
So the next question is going to be, is it enjoyable / entertaining? And Drew, you can start off this one.
No, and this I'll attribute to just like more so the comedy in general.
Because we've done sequels on this list that maybe don't work as a sequel, but they are enjoyable
They're
/
still
entertaining.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
And this one is not. It's strictly a comedy and it strictly has a message that it's trying to put forth. And I think it fails on both those accounts. What I really liked about the comedy in the first one was that it was interwoven with the process of being a lawyer. And this one, the comedy comes more so from the characters, but because the writer doesn't know the characters, the comedy's flat. The message is we need more emotion in Washington. At this point in history is laughable. So it lost me at that point.
I'm going to say no. And I think that the scene in which they do the cheer with the interns is enough to prove my point. Hard pass.
We'll just play it here for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll just play a little clip right here.
It's hard because I was laughing at the movie a lot, and I did think it was really ridiculous. And it's not one of those movies that I think it's so bad that it's good. It's not like, it's kind of like right down the middle of being like just really bland and dumb. So I don't think it's enjoyable / entertaining either, but I do find it interesting because you're when you're watching Elle, you want to like laugh with her. You want to like hear what she has to say, and then all her lines are just so like flat. I will say it is surprising that they did not bring back the bend and snap for the second one.
They brought back the Snap Cup.
The snap cup, but
Well,
I
they
mean,
didn't bring it back. They introduced it.
I know, but like the bend and snap was like you would think
Well,
that
was the dance number, the cheer number.
Oh, okay.
So
They were doing the bend and snap and the bow wow wow.
No,
song?
but
No.
that's the same kind of jumping off point I think they came from, where it's like, we need something like the bend and snap. What do we do? Well, the friends will get a cheer together to promote the bill. I think that's where the idea came from.
I know. I guess I was surprised that they were like, oh, we don't need to do that joke, but we're going to repeat all these jokes in the second one.
Truly.
It's like,
out of all of the things that they chose to repeat, they left out the bend and snap.
But they could, even if it wasn't like a big dance number, they could have just done like a lazy reference.
Yeah.
They didn't even do that.
something like that. So no, I don't think it's enjoyable / entertaining either, but it bums me out
Because of the bend and snap.
Well, not because of the bend and snap, but I just feel like it's in a weird place where I feel like if it was just a little worse, I would have said it was enjoyable / entertaining because it's like
'Cause you
that
could hate
bad.
watch it.
Exactly, you could hate watch it, but it's not bad enough for that. It's just dumb.
Or if it was really bad longer, because it gets really bad toward the end.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just boring bad for most of the middle.
Yeah.
It's so fast in the beginning, it's so boring in the middle, and then it finally gets that perfect balance in like the last act.
I think
with
there-
all the green screen.
I think there are some ridiculous bad jokes that are actually like funny when you're watching the movie, but the plot is so convoluted that you like forget about those jokes.
Yeah.
Like that guy that's running the animal testing facility that's like, I can't open the door. They won't even let me have a key. I guess that's what happens when you accidentally swallow
That's a
it.
good joke.
Absolutely not. I'm not authorized to release any subjects from their containment units. I'm not even allowed to have a key. You swallow the thing one time, and all of a sudden you're the weird key swallower who can't be trusted.
So wow, that sounds like it's going to get another 3 X's. So the final question is going to be, does it need to exist? And Kaylee, you're our special guest, our Legally Blonde expert. You tell us.
I say no because I feel like it doesn't do the character of Elle Woods any justice. I don't feel like the movie respects her or her journey or her growth in the same way that the first one does. And like we've said multiple times, everything about it is flat. The characters are flat. The lighting is flat. The script is flat. I mean, maybe like Sally Field like twisting her mustache is a little interesting. I think that potentially a sequel, like if a sequel were like completely different than this one, then yes. But this one, no.
I'm a little conflicted because I think the character needs to exist in a second movie.
But that wasn't her.
A continuation does. But now I'm going to flip it a little bit because I'm going to say actually this movie does need to exist. Because if we get another opportunity to have a first movie where the character is going to end up being this kind of like icon or someone that pops in the mainstream, especially for young women. I think if they decide then with this new character to make a sequel, the producers or the writers or the directors or someone can go to them and say, no, we need to make this sequel good. You don't want this to end up being a Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde. So if anything, I think this movie needs to exist as a template.
Like for the greater good?
For the greater good. To show you what not to do when you have a good character like this.
I was going to make the same argument you were, but I don't feel strongly enough to say it should exist, so I'm going to say no, it shouldn't exist.
That it?
Yeah, pretty much, because like I was literally just going to pitch your argument.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's strong enough, so I'm going to say
well,
no.
but what are you saying is not strong enough? Like the material? Because I don't think the material's strong enough either.
I don't think they needed to make the mistake of the sequel in order to learn how to make a good sequel. I think if they just did the first one, didn't do the second one, and got the one that's about to come out of development hell, and that's Legally Blonde 2, I think that could still be really good without the cautionary tale of Red, White, and Blonde.
All right, if you're doing that math at home, that's going to be 8 X's and 1 check. So that's going to lead to 1 giant X for not worth going back again. And yeah, I mean, that's Legally Blonde 2 for you. Thanks as always, everyone, for listening. If you like this episode, make sure you like, subscribe, that you comment below. You can listen to all episodes of the Back Again podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can subscribe to What a Guy Productions on YouTube and watch these episodes with video. Quick update, Addams Family Values finally got released from YouTube, so that episode's up, so you can watch that along with the others. Special thanks to Kaylee Johnson for being our guest and our Legally Blonde expert.
Thanks. It makes me want a hot dog real bad. It had to happen.
And yeah, outside of that, you got anything else to add, Drew?
Hi, Christine Snack. Hi, Pinky. It's Nikki. Hi, Jill. It's JoJo.
Hi, Allison. It's Cookie.
All right, everybody, we will see you next time.
I'm back again.